Wow. Hey, much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in. So, real quick video, guys. An incredible find here while I was doing research for a video. I'm preparing another presentation talking about the navigational skills of the ancient Americans and how we went from here all over the world. During that research, I ended up finding some interesting sources in French. Just going to get to it right away. This is a French book. And real quick, I'm just going to show you the date it's written. It's from 1868. This is by Henry Adrien Prévost de Longpériode. It's called Notes des Bronzes Antiques exposés dans les galeries. So they're talking about, I guess, some antique bronze statues they have in this collection in Louvre, France. Again, this is from 1868. So there's something very interesting and telling about one of these bronze statues that they have in this collection during this time in 1868. The person who wrote this book is going to tell you. So if you go to page 143 of this book, you get to this part. It says esclaves or slaves, right? And this is in French, guys. So take a good look so you guys can see that I'm going to copy the exact same thing that's over here. I'm going to bring it to Google Translate. So again, I'm translating these two paragraphs right here regarding one of the bronze statues that they have in their collection. So on the left here, we have the French part, and this is the English translation. You guys can see and verify it's the same thing. I just typed it in myself manually. It says here, bust of a slave completely shaved. His ears are large and drooping. The top of the skull opens by means of a hinge and forms a cover. Above the ears are placed rings, in which there is just a mobile handle representing a tree branch with knots, situla. The shape of the skull, that of the nose, of the mouth, everything in this bronze recalls the red race of the New World. There is perhaps the image of some Guanche or some Carib of the islands of the Atlantic Ocean. See about the Indians carried by the currents on the shores of northern Europe and given as a present to King Metellus, proconsul of the Gauls around the year 16 BC, guys. Do you guys understand what they're telling you here? That American Indians supposedly got caught in the currents and ended up in Europe in 60 BC. The testimony of Cornelius Nepos quoted by Pomponius Mela and by Pliny. All right, this is historic. Now, real quick before I continue, right? If you haven't checked out these videos, I have a couple videos. Seafaring ancient Americans went on voyages to Europe, Africa, and Asia before Columbus came. Sailors, right? So that's the name of the video. Make sure to check that out. Very good video. And I got another one, Navigators of the Ancient World, Stone Spheres of Costa Rica, American Atlantis Discovery of Europe. All right, so check this one out as well if you haven't. And my other navigational video of ancient Americans, the seagoing Americans, warrior merchants, vast trade empire. Temuco are the Warao of South America, okay? What you learn is that we were navigating since ancient times. So it's no surprise that Romans are writing about this in 60 BC, that they met American Indians. So real quick, I found another source speaking of this. I couldn't find the book itself, but I did find the reference of the book. It's this one right here, written by Adolphe de Selunaire from 1890. He even titled the book, Type de Indien du Novo Mundo. All right, so this whole thing right here, I'm going to translate for you guys right now. If you guys can see, take a good look. I'm going to copy paste, bring it to Google Translate. So this is what I copied, right? If you guys can see, it's the exact same thing. And in English, it says, type of New World Indian depicted on an antique bronze from the Louvre. New contribution to the interpretation of a fragment of Cornelius Nepos, okay? The book is real. You can buy it on eBay, 62 bucks. It's literally the title of his book. This is historic. Now, if we go back to the original translation of the first book, it was telling us that these Indians were given as a present to Metellus, who happens to be a friend of Cornelius Nepos. So that first book was quoting a very ancient book and writer, Pomponius Mela. He wrote a book, Description of the World, or Chrographia. Again, written by Pomponius Mela, was last translated into English over 400 years ago, and is the earliest surviving geographical work in Latin. Although first published at the height of the Roman Empire, in roughly 44 CE, Pomponius Mela's work circulated during Europe's great age of exploration. All right, so this is an English translation by F.E. Robert. So this is part of the book translated here in English on this website, topostext.org. And I'm going to go to the part where it's talking about the American Indians. So again, this is the translated version. I'm going to show you the original. But in addition to the natural philosophers in Homer, who all said that the entire known world was surrounded by sea, there is Cornelius Nepos, who is more dependable as an authority because he is more modern. Nepos, however, adduces Quintus Metellus Celer as witness of the fact, and he records that Metellus reported it as follows. When Celer was proconsul of Gaul, certain Indians were presented to him as a gift by the king of the Boii. By asking what route they had followed to reach there, Celer learned that they had been snatched by storm from Indian waters, that they had traversed the intervening region, and that finally they had arrived on the shores of Germany. Ergo, the sea is continuous, but the rest of that same coast is frozen by the unremitting cold and is therefore deserted. All right, so they're saying part of the Atlantic was frozen at that time. We're talking about 60 BC. So in this website, books.openedition.org, they're talking about the book Life of Nepos, or the writings of Life of Nepos, right? Cornelius Nepos, the guy we just talked about. We're going to go to a part here real quick. From the historian Pomponius Mela, we learn that Nepos was a personal acquaintance of Metellus Celer, brother to Metellus Nepos, and husband of the notorious Clodia, the lover of Catullus. According to Mela, Metellus Celer once told Nepos about the fantastic sea voyage endured by a group of Indian merchants, warrior merchants, right? Just like my video I was telling you guys, right? What did I call this? I said seagoing Americans, warrior merchants, vast trade empire. They were carried all the way to northern Europe by a terrible storm. The Indians were captured by a local German chieftain, who then presented them as a gift to Celer. All right, so they ended up in Germany. Then they got sold to this Roman guy. Nepos may have been a client of this powerful family, or his intellectual pursuits may have led to a more equal friendship with Celer. Regardless of the exact nature of the relationship, his association with this powerful family demonstrates Nepos' access to the upper echelons of Roman society. So the reason I'm just reading this real quick, guys, is just to show you these are historic people that a lot of scholars use. So again, this is a copy of the original, because the original Chrographia by Pomponius is a lot older, guys. All right, we're talking about BC times. So this copy of it is written in 1867. When you go to page 72 of this book, guys, you find this paragraph right here. So starting at 44, it says ultra. I'm going to translate this paragraph right here. And again, this is what I'm translating, ultra Caspian, right? You see the whole thing. As you guys can see, I'm not adding anything. And what it says is, what was beyond the Caspian Gulf was for some time doubtful, whether it was the same ocean or a land infested with cold, boundless and endlessly projected. But besides the physicist and Homer, who said that the whole world was surrounded by the sea, Cornelius Nepos, as more recent, is thus more certain on authority. And he adds Quintus Metellus Celerus as a witness to the matter, and mentions him as having thus reported, when he was presiding over Gaul as consul, certain Indios, or Indos, right? Indos, Indians, gifts given to him whence they came to those lands. They had learned by searching that by the force of the storms carried away by the horses of the, it says Judices, almost sounds like Judeans. It says the giants that were between had at last come to the shores of Germany. They're saying these Indians are giants. They're tall. Therefore, the sea remains, but the rest of the same side is constantly frozen, right? So it's not the best translation. Again, this is Latin. And so, you know, look how it says Indians or Indos. Again, an English translation. And again, according to Mela, Metellus Seller once told Nepos about the fantastic sea voyage endured by a group of Indian merchants. I hope you guys understand how big this is. Remember, Pomponius Mela wrote this in 60 BC. This literally proves that Columbus was never lost. They knew you were over here. We already had gotten that in my navigational videos that Columbus met Indians in Ireland in 1470s. Yes, so make sure to catch these videos again. Columbus met Indians in Ireland. We already went over that. We know the sea currents are way stronger coming from America than the opposite way. We're going to show that again on another book and a future video I got. Might come out this week. But are you going to deny primary sources telling you that American Indians washed ashore in 60 BC in Germany and they were given as a gift to this Roman guy? So all that stuff about Columbus being lost and naming us Indians because he was looking for India, that's all a lie. India didn't even exist back then. It was called Bharat or Hindustan. And they're not talking about Hindus because how are you going to get lost in India and end up in Germany? It's more logical, right, that you will get caught in the strong currents of the Gulf Stream and get swept over to Europe. That's more logical and more historic. This was just one account. And this is ancient, guys. They're talking about American Indians being over there. They already knew you were here. And they were waiting for the right moment to come and conquer. Papa Bull, right? So this is undebatable, undisputable, historical sources right here. Letting you know that we were going over there. Letting you know what appears to be Caribs, right? We're going to go back to the description. Right? They're saying a bust of a slave. His ears are large and drooping, right? It says the shape of the skull, that of the nose, of the mouth. Everything in this bronze recalls the red race of the New World. So again, we found that source because they were talking about this bronze statue that looks like an American Indian. This is what they call in so-called Moors, right? With the feather headdresses, what they're painting in these walls in Germany. You guys saw the videos, right? There's perhaps the image of some Guanche or some Carib. We just did a video on the Guanches coming from so-called Atlantis, right? Possibly coming out of America, coming from the Atlantic Ocean. Prove that ancient Europeans knew about American indigenous people. The whole Columbus story, that's a lie. Wake up. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I got a lot of good videos following up on this. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Awa.